If you've been regularly watching YouTube over the past few years, chances are you've come across videos discussing actress Rachel Zegler. Unfortunately for her, these discussions are rarely positive. Zegler has become a symbol of everything that critics argue is wrong with Hollywood today, as well as a prime example of the self-entitled behavior often associated with Gen Z. The negativity surrounding her has only intensified due to her involvement in Disney's upcoming live-action remake of Snow White, a film that has been heavily criticized long before its release. To be fair, the Snow White remake has been a disaster from the very beginning, regardless of who was cast in the lead role. The film has undergone extensive reshoots, its budget has spiraled out of control, and Disney has reportedly spent over $300 million trying to salvage it. However, if Disney was hoping to recoup some of their investment, Rachel Zegler has proven to be more of a liability than an asset. Her comments about modernizing Snow White into a feminist icon, dismissing the original story, and even suggesting that the prince in the classic film is a stalker, have alienated many potential viewers. Additionally, her remarks about deserving higher pay, "If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress as an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour," have only fueled backlash. Zegler's combative attitude toward those who disagree with her, along with her tendency to attack critics on social media, has cemented her as one of Hollywood's most unlikable figures. Despite efforts from Disney and her PR team to manage the situation, she consistently finds new ways to frustrate audiences, making her an incredibly difficult actress to market. The backlash against her is reflected in the Snow White trailer's reception, which has been met with over 1 million dislikes. While much of this may not be news to those who have followed her career, there is some new information that has largely been ignored by mainstream media. This story, which has been buried, provides further insight into why Rachel Zegler has struggled to gain public support. If you enjoy exclusive entertainment news, be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an update. One of the biggest criticisms of Rachel Zegler is not just her attitude, but also her lack of tangible achievements. Many Hollywood celebrities have earned their arrogance through decades of success, but Zegler has yet to prove herself in any significant way. For example, Mark Hamill and Whoopi Goldberg may have become insufferable in recent years due to their political rants and bitterness, but they at least have past accomplishments to justify their fame. Hamill is forever associated with Star Wars, and Goldberg has an extensive career spanning film, television, and theater. Even if their legacies have been somewhat tarnished, they still have a fan base that respects their earlier work. Rachel Zegler, on the other hand, lacks that foundation. Despite relentless promotion from legacy media, she has yet to establish herself as a true box office draw. Her rise to prominence began when Steven Spielberg discovered her in 2018 and cast her in his West Side Story remake. While media outlets were eager to praise her performance and highlight her Golden Globe win, what they failed to acknowledge is that West Side Story was a massive flop. Despite being directed by Spielberg, the film failed to connect with audiences and did not perform well financially. Since then, Zegler's track record at the box office has not improved. Following West Side Story, she had a supporting role in Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which was another major box office failure. The film struggled to attract audiences and underperformed financially. Additionally, she starred in the movie Y2K, which was such a flop that it failed to recoup even a third of its modest $15 million budget. These failures raise an important question. Why does Hollywood continue to push Rachel Zegler as a leading actress when she has not proven herself as a box office draw? Despite the media's attempts to position her as a rising star, the numbers simply do not support that narrative. Some might argue that Zegler's role in The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, was a turning point in her career. The prequel was praised by certain media outlets and reported to have been a financial success. However, upon closer examination, the film's profitability is questionable. According to reports, The movie had a production budget of $100 million and grossed $349 million worldwide. While this may seem impressive at first glance, it's important to consider additional expenses such as marketing and distribution, which often double a film's budget. If that's the case, then The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds, and Snakes only barely managed to turn a profit. Furthermore, was Zegler truly the reason audiences went to see the film, or was it the strength of the Hunger Games brand itself? Given her previous track record, it's difficult to argue that she was the driving force behind its moderate success. In contrast to genuine box office stars, Zegler has consistently failed to attract audiences on her own merit. Unlike proven actresses who can carry a film, she remains untested and largely unproven in her ability to sell tickets. This makes her continued arrogance all the more baffling. She behaves like an A-list star without having earned that status, and her dismissive attitude toward classic stories like Snow White only further alienates audiences. One of the most frustrating aspects of Zegler's career is the way the media continues to prop her up, despite clear evidence that she is not resonating with general audiences. Hollywood has long been accused of trying to force certain actors into stardom despite their lack of audience appeal, and Zegler is a prime example of this trend. No matter how many box office failures she racks up, she continues to be cast in major roles, leading many to wonder why Hollywood insists on promoting her so aggressively. Disney's decision to cast her as Snow White was controversial from the beginning, but her own comments have only made things worse. Instead of embracing the legacy of the character, she has openly criticized the original film, dismissed the romance as outdated, and positioned herself as a feminist reinterpretation of the beloved princess. This might have been tolerated if audiences were excited about the movie, but given the overwhelmingly negative response, it's clear that Disney made a massive miscalculation. The failure of Snow White will likely be blamed on a variety of factors: Disney's mishandling of the production, changes to the story, and an increasingly disillusioned audience that is tired of remakes. However, it would be impossible to ignore the role that Rachel Zegler herself has played in the film's disastrous reception. Her attitude, comments, and general unlikability have turned off many potential viewers, making her one of the biggest liabilities for the project. In the end, Rachel Zegler's career is at a crossroads. Despite the media's efforts to frame her as a rising star, audiences have not responded positively to her. If Snow White flops as expected, Hollywood may finally start to reconsider its investment in her. Until then, she remains a cautionary tale of what happens when an actress is given too much too soon, without proving herself to the people who actually buy tickets. Only time will tell whether Rachel Zegler can turn things around, but for now, she remains one of the most divisive figures in Hollywood, and for all the wrong reasons. For those who may not be aware, movie ticket sales are divided among theaters, distributors, and studios. This means that a film needs to generate approximately 2.5 times its overall budget in box office revenue just to break even. On the surface, this would suggest that Rachel Zegler's Hunger Games prequel turned a profit of around $100 million. However, there is one crucial detail that most mainstream media outlets have conveniently failed to mention. The Hunger Games. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes had a reported production budget of $100 million, but this figure does not account for its substantial marketing costs. The film had an additional marketing budget of at least $80 million, if not more. This means that the true overall cost of the movie was closer to $180 million. Consequently, to simply break even, the film needed to make at least $450 million worldwide. Unfortunately for Lionsgate, the studio behind the movie, it failed to reach that milestone. Not only did The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes fail to be profitable, but it also became yet another box office disappointment for Zegler. This is particularly significant because The Hunger Games is an established intellectual property with a built-in audience. Despite the franchise's popularity, Zegler's iteration was unable to attract enough moviegoers to turn a profit. Lionsgate had initially projected that the prequel would earn somewhere between $500 million and $1 billion globally, making it clear that they were expecting a major success. Given these high expectations, it is obvious that the studio recognizes the film as a failure, though they have avoided acknowledging it publicly. Now, here is where things get even more interesting. The Hunger Games prequel ended with something of a cliffhanger, strongly suggesting a sequel that would continue to feature Rachel Zegler in a leading role. However, due to the film's underwhelming financial performance, the sequel has been quietly shelved. The lack of discussion surrounding this decision is intentional. Lionsgate has been handling the situation with extreme discretion, opting to subtly pivot away from Zegler without outright admitting their miscalculation. In an effort to avoid negative publicity, Lionsgate has indeed announced a follow-up to the prequel. However, instead of continuing the story from The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the next Hunger Games movie will feature a significant time jump, over 40 years into the future. This conveniently eliminates the need for Zegler's character, or, at the very least, renders her version of the role irrelevant. Officially, the explanation for this shift is that the next film is based on Hunger Games author Suzanne Collins' upcoming book, which takes place further down the timeline. Lionsgate has stated that they wish to remain faithful to Collins' source material. While this justification is plausible, the reality appears to be much more calculated. As of June 2024, Lionsgate issued a press release announcing their ongoing collaboration with Collins. They confirmed that as she writes her next Hunger Games novel, they are already working with her to develop a film adaptation. This strongly suggests that Collins and Lionsgate are working hand in hand to ensure the profitability of future Hunger Games projects. It is important to note that Collins does not operate in a creative vacuum as she once did when writing the original Hunger Games trilogy. Today, she and Lionsgate share a mutual business interest, likely including profit-sharing agreements and royalty deals. If The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes had been a financial success, there is no doubt that a direct sequel featuring Zegler would have been greenlit without hesitation. However, since the prequel failed to meet expectations, Lionsgate and Collins have chosen to pivot in a different direction, effectively sidelining Zegler in the process. This begs the question, why is Hollywood being so secretive about this failure? Why not simply acknowledge that the film underperformed and move on? The answer likely lies in the current state of the industry. Most major studios today are reluctant to publicly admit their failures, even when they are glaringly obvious. However, in this particular case, there appears to be an additional factor at play. Lionsgate has dedicated an entire section of its official website to its DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Given this, one can assume that the studio is wary of the optics surrounding Zegler's quiet removal from the franchise. How would it look if a company that champions diverse casting were to fire a diverse lead actress from one of their flagship franchises? To avoid potential backlash, they have instead taken a more subtle approach, shifting the timeline forward to naturally phase her out rather than making an explicit announcement. This approach mirrors the way mainstream media continues to protect Zegler as well. Despite the undeniable financial failure of The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, industry insiders and entertainment journalists have largely refrained from criticizing Zegler's performance or acknowledging her diminishing box office appeal. While diverse casting is not inherently problematic, it does not automatically translate to a successful or fitting performance. The reality is that Zegler's behavior, comments, and public persona have alienated a portion of potential moviegoers. Now, all eyes are on Disney's Snow White, where Zegler takes on the titular role. The stakes have never been higher for her career. If the live-action Snow White fails to generate at least $1 billion at the global box office, it could mark the beginning of the end for her tenure as a major Hollywood lead. Studios may begin, offering her fewer prominent roles, if they offer any at all. Ultimately, Hollywood can continue to shower Zegler with praise and accolades, but if audiences are not buying tickets to her films, she will not remain a bankable star. Box office numbers dictate an actor's longevity in the industry, and if Snow White performs as poorly as The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, it is unlikely that she will be granted many more high-profile opportunities. For those who want to stay ahead of the curve and receive accurate entertainment news and industry insights before anyone else, make sure to like and subscribe. That way, you'll always be in the loop. Thank you for watching, my friends. Until next time, have a great day.